I will go through the lease management module in the Onfinity system. The lease management module in the Onfinity system is designed to help organizations efficiently manage leases according to IFRS 16 standards. This module ensures that lease data is accurately recorded, calculated, and reported. It also provides a comprehensive overview of all lease agreements across the organization. In the Onfinity system, comprehensive lease accounting is available for both lessors and lessees. This functionality allows tracking of right-of-use assets and lease liabilities. Calculations are done automatically to ensure compliance with IFRS 16. Lease classification is also available, enabling classification of leases as either financial or operating, as per the applicable standards. The module supports revenue recognition by tracking lease receivables and automatically posting interest income to the respective ledger accounts. The system automates the generation of monthly invoices for customers, which is particularly useful for lessors managing a large customer base. It also sends payment reminders to customers. Onfinity allows the configuration of complex workflows, supporting multi-level approvals for lease-related transactions. On the payment side, the system tracks lease payments to ensure timely payments to vendors. Additionally, it offers compliance and regulatory reporting, enabling the generation of compliance reports and audit trails for lease transactions. An integrated document management system organizes all lease documents for easy access. Critical alerts can be set for lease agreement renewals, expirations, terminations, and payment due dates. Onfinity integrates seamlessly with existing applications, enhancing its utility within broader business operations. Now let's dive into the application. The lease management module in Onfinity covers both lease agreements as revenue for lessors and lease agreements as expenses for lessees. The lease agreement revenue screen provides a dedicated dashboard with KPIs, charts, and views tailored for lease agreements. For example, lease payment receivables for the current year compared to the previous year. Interest income from leases over the same period. Financial lease analysis showing lease payments, interest income, and lease receivable adjustments. If you are a lessor, you can access this customized dashboard that displays all relevant KPIs, charts, and various views, including notes to accounts, reports, and compliance with IFRS 16. Additionally, you can track key metrics such as lease payment receivables for the current year compared to the previous year. You can also track interest income from leases for the current year compared to the previous year. The dashboard provides a detailed financial lease analysis showing the total lease payments for the financial year, along with the breakdown of interest income, lease receivable adjustments, and other relevant components. Additionally, you can compare lease receivables between financial leases and operating leases. By clicking here, you can view all the existing agreements in the system, displaying the various lease types you have. When creating a new lease agreement, users specify the lease type, financing lease or operating lease, whether it's an original lease or a renewal of an existing one. You'll also need to provide a name for the lease agreement and select the customer or tenant associated with it. Next, you select the underlying asset information. Once you choose the asset, the system automatically retrieves its book value. You then proceed to enter the lease details, such as the applicable discount rate for calculating lease receivables. You'll specify the lease amount and the currency in which the agreement is denominated. You will also need to enter the contract start date, the contract signing date, and the date the payments begin. It's important to specify whether the payments are due at the beginning or the end of the period, as this will affect the present value calculation. Additionally, you should indicate the number of payments per year, whether it's a single payment per financial year or multiple payments throughout the year. You can also enter any additional information, such as the residual value agreed upon with the lessee. If there are any indirect costs associated with a lease agreement, these can be entered as well. Additionally, if there is a change in the price during the term of the lease agreement, this information can also be included. For example, if the lease price increases every financial year by a fixed amount, such as 1,000 or 10% of the existing lease payment, the system will automatically adjust the calculations. Based on these increments, the system will generate the lease schedules, which are used to calculate the present value of all lease payments. It will also determine the interest income for each month if the lease payments are monthly, or for the entire financial year if the payments are annual, adjusting the interest income accordingly. Similarly, The system will calculate and adjust the capital portion of the lease receivables for each lease payment. For operating leases, if you are managing them in the system, you will need to provide details such as the monthly billing frequency, the type of charge, the invoicing date, and the applicable tax. Based on this information, the system will automatically generate the billing schedules in advance, allowing you to easily track whether they have been billed. You can quickly view the billing status for each lease agreement, particularly for operating leases. Additionally, you can check the applicable tax, currency, and rate for each lease agreement. Now let's quickly move on to the expense side of the lease agreement. As a lessee where you have taken assets on lease, you can access a dedicated dashboard for lease agreements on the expense side. This dashboard provides configurable views, allowing you to track KPIs related to your lease agreements in compliance with IFRS 16 disclosures. Similar to the lease agreement revenues dashboard we've seen earlier. As a lessee, you can access key disclosures that can be directly used in your financial statements, notes to accounts. This includes details about the lease liability, such as the current and non-current portions. Similarly, you can view information about the right of use assets for all your lease agreements, which are required for IFRS 16 disclosures. Additionally, the system allows you to see all your lease agreements, whether they are finance leases or operating leases, providing a comprehensive overview for lease management and reporting. For lease agreements on the payable side, you can store detailed information about the lease agreement, including the vendor, lease payment terms, and the discount rate applicable for calculating the current lease liability. You'll also input the fixed lease amount, currency, and other contract details. Additionally, you can capture any other relevant information such as upfront lease payments, initial direct costs incurred, dismantling costs, or incentives received in relation to the lease agreement. You can also enter any price increments applicable to the lease agreement. Once all the information is saved, you can click on Generate Schedule, and the system will automatically generate all the lease schedules. These schedules will include details such as the lease liability and the opening balances for the right of use assets. The generated schedules will provide a detailed breakdown, showing the lease payment amount, the interest calculation period, and the opening balance of the lease liability for that specific lease agreement. You'll also be able to see the interest cost to be posted, the portion of lease liability to be amortized, and the closing balance at the end of the period. The system will also calculate the depreciation for the right of use asset for each period, displaying both the opening and closing balances for the right of use asset. Once the transactions are created for the month, they will be marked as transaction created. This allows you to export the report and share it with vendors, confirming that all transactions have been paid. You can also use these reports for your internal reporting purposes. The system is integrated with the document management system, allowing you to upload and store lease agreements. You can easily access and view these agreements at any time. Whether managing finance leases or operating leases, the system can also send standing instructions to the bank to process lease payments automatically whenever the amount is due, streamlining payment processing for both types of leases. In the case of a sale and leaseback arrangement, the system allows you to handle these scenarios as well. You can select the assets involved in the sale and leaseback, input the sale value, and provide the fair value and book value of the assets. The system will then automatically calculate the gain or loss on the sale and leaseback transaction. The system also allows you to manage sublease agreements. If, as a lessor, you have taken an asset on lease and sublet it to another party, you can store the details of the sublease agreements. In this case, you select the reference to the original lease agreement and input the relevant lease payment terms, including the fixed amount, lease interest rate, and the percentage of the asset that has been sublet, such as 40%, 50%, or 60%. The system will automatically calculate the lease receivables and determine the gain or loss on sublease agreements. It will also allow you to save any price incremental information related to these subleases. There is a process to run at the end of the financial year to generate all the lease-related transactions, ensuring everything is accurately recorded for reporting and compliance purposes. This process can be scheduled, allowing the system to automatically generate all lease-related transactions. Users can review and confirm these transactions before posting them. The system can also send these transactions for approval, eliminating the need for manual intervention. Lease transactions typically include actions such as writing off lease liabilities, writing off right-of-use assets, or posting depreciation for the right-of-use assets. The system will calculate and determine the capital portion of the lease to be posted, the depreciation for the period, and the interest value that needs to be recorded. These transactions will be automatically generated, and once confirmed, they can be posted without manual intervention, ensuring accurate financial reporting for the lease agreements. This process applies to both lease agreements on the expense side and the revenue side. Once the user approves the lease transactions, the system will post the corresponding entries to the books of accounts. This includes posting interest income, lease receivables, and an offset account for lease payments. The offset account can then be linked to the payment management module for further processing, ensuring seamless integration across the system. Here you can see the posting of a lease transaction where all the interest income and lease receivables are recorded. Similarly, interest expense on lease liabilities and depreciation related to the right-of-use assets are posted. For operating leases, the system directly posts the expense to the relevant account. On the other side, the lease payment offset is posted to an intermediate account, which is linked to the payment management module. The Onfinity system provides all the necessary disclosures in compliance with IFRS 16. This includes reporting the aging of lease receivables and the current and non-current portions of those receivables. These disclosures can be directly generated from the system, eliminating the need for manual calculations, ensuring accuracy and efficiency in financial reporting. This was an overview of the lease management module in Onfinity. Thank you.